Central Coast News right now. This is breaking news.
Two big stories this evening, and this information just coming into our newsroom. A civil jury has found that Caltrans was partially responsible for the death of a 4-year-old child on Highway 156 in 2010. This is video from that terrible crash. Gilroy mother Cassandra Jones alleged that Caltrans knew of dangerous conditions on the road but did nothing to improve them. A jury agreed, saying Caltrans was 60% responsible for the crash, and for that, the jury awarded a $20 million verdict. And now this big story tonight. 6 King City police officers are on the other side of the law. They were arrested this morning on everything from bribery to embezzlement charges. I'm Mark Cota-Robles.
And I'm Jasmine Veal. So the former police chief as well as the acting chief were among those arrested. Tonight we have team coverage. Right now Ricardo Navarro standing by with reaction from King City leaders. So Ricardo, what's the general feeling then?
Well, the general feeling is disappointment from the mayor to everyone that attended that news conference. I'll have more in just a moment.
All right, Ricardo, stand by for that. But first, Cassandra Arsenault is live in Salinas, where the Monterey County District Attorney announced these charges this afternoon. Cassie?
Well, Mark, after a 6-month investigation, the DA's office found 4 King City police officers and 1 civilian involved in an organized embezzlement operation, and they were targeting the poor in their city.
And these are the people who are really disadvantaged. They're not always English speaking. And they said something that really resonated with me. The police, they are taking our property, they're taking our cars, they take our money, and we can do nothing about that.
Today, the Monterey County DA said allegations from the community about some in their police department were true. Investigators say officers, the acting chief, as well as the former chief, were all in a deal. Officers targeted poor Hispanic people in King City, would pull them over, and if they didn't have a license, would impound their car. The cars would sit at Miller Towing, acting chief Bruce Miller's brother's business. Knowing these people couldn't afford to get the car out of the impound, they were sold or given to officers for free.
The disturbing thing here is when we began to look at the volume of the impoundment, and we found hundreds and hundreds of impoundments from the King City PD, and in particular from Sergeant Carrillo.
Sergeant Bobby Javier Carrillo, charged with accepting a bride or bribing an officer. 87% of the cars he impounded were sent to Miller's Towing. Allegations are he got one of every 15 cars. Acting Chief Bruce Miller charged with accepting a bribe. Former Chief Nick Baldiviez and Officer Mario Motu Sr. charged with embezzlement by a public officer.
Approximately 4 other towing companies that service King City, and ostensibly the impounds were to be divided up relatively equally.
Aside from the illegal operation, Officer Jaime Andrade was charged with illegally owning an automatic assault gun and illegal storage of these weapons. Officer Mark Baker was charged with criminal threats after beating up a King City resident.
This is not a pleasant time for any of us in law enforcement.
Now, the investigation could get bigger as the DA's office looks into more officer involvement and also more complaints that they're getting in. The total bail for the suspect sits at $145,000 right now.
So if
in
these
Salinas,
officers...
I'm Cassandra Arsenault.
I was going to jump in here before you go, Cassie. Now, that's okay. If these officers were targeting poor Hispanic people in the community, do we know if there's any investigation into some sort of profiling charges?
You know what, Mark? That's a good question. They actually said today they were kind of dodging the question. They said that they have no way of knowing what the actual police reports were of these people that were being pulled over. So there's not a lot of proof right now to prove that they were actually targeting the poor Hispanic community.
All right, Cassandra, thanks for that.
All right, let's go to Ricardo now, live in King City, where city leaders just held their own news conference. Ricardo, what were you able to find out?
Well, Mark and Jazz, the mayor just wrapped up that news conference, and all city council members lined up right here in front of the police department, along with 2 King City police officers who showed up to show their support to the community and the rest of the department. Now, the city manager said that they are fully staffed with police officers tonight with the help from the Monterey County Sheriff's Department, and said that by tomorrow night they should have an interim police chief in place. They have prospective candidates candidates, one from the Monterey County Sheriff's Department, as well as one from inside the King City Police Force. The mayor tonight passionate about the arrests made today.
I'm extremely upset. I'm extremely upset at that. There are instances in this world when those that can afford it least are taken advantage of. And I will stand up and say, I'm not going to stand for that. And, you know, as a result, these are things that we're taking extremely seriously. If that's how it plays out and if that's what's proven, extremely disappointed in those members of the police department that participated in it.
The officers arrested are on administrative leave pending the city's own internal investigation. At least 50 people showed up to hear what city leaders had to say, and they were not happy, and that is an understatement. Later tonight at 6, I talked to several people here in the community and have more on their reaction as well as what they think needs to be done next. Live in King City, Ricardo Navarro, your Central Coast News.
Yeah, and you can just imagine how many people in that community are simply rattled by this news. All right, thanks, Ricardo.
Well, there's a huge response on our Facebook page. A comment here from Mike, if we can pull this up. Mike Rodriguez saying, good, we don't need crooked cops.
Well, meantime, Jamie commented saying that they will be investigated and the facts will come out. She says her opinion of the police has not changed.
And many more opinions there on the page. If you have time, join the conversation. Coming up tonight on the news at 6, who's protecting King City now that several of their officers are under arrest? Plus, the community reacts and more comments from you on social media.
And for more information about today's arrests, we have it all there. Visit KIONrightnow.com. You can also sign up for those breaking news alerts. Just click email at the top of the homepage.
And remember, for instant coverage, follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Highway 101 is back open after a major snarl. Earlier this afternoon, police say a man was on the edge of the John Street overpass and they were concerned for his safety. Central Coast News reporter Sydney Daniel was there.
Today, all of John Street and all lanes of 101 were closed, backing up traffic for hours. Just before 11 Tuesday morning, police got a call about a man standing on the ledge of the Highway 101 overpass at John Street, more than 20 feet above passing cars. Officers shut down both north and southbound lanes, leaving midday traffic backed up to Prunedale. Detours through Salinas didn't help much. After 2 hours, police were able to get the man down safely and reopen the highway. I'm Sydney Daniel in Salinas, your Central Coast News.
And good job to those officers involved this afternoon. Meantime, public safety could soon be getting a boost in Monterey County this week. County supervisors will consider beefing up funding by almost $2 million. That would speed up the process of phasing in improved radio communications. Some agencies are already using the system called NGen. The new radio system will help Monterey County communicate more effectively with other agencies. And tonight, public safety is a hot topic at 2 city council meetings.
Yeah, first in Watsonville, a half-cent tax proposal to help keep the city safe. This proposal is recommending the half-cent sales tax go toward police and fire services. The funding would budget more than $1 million for the police department and then more than $800,000 for fire in the next fiscal year. So the city council meeting starts tonight at 6:30. And then Santa Cruz's city council meeting tonight. The council will be discussing recommendations from the Public Safety Task Force. It includes a budget and implementation. That council meeting starts at 7 p.m. Well, as the California drought continues, Santa Cruz will also consider Stage 3 water rationing there at tonight's meeting. Well, this means residents and large irrigators could be given a strict water budget. Those who go over that limit would be fined.
And tonight, before the city council meeting gets underway, family, friends, and fellow police officers will hold a candlelight vigil outside City Hall in memory of officers Elizabeth Butler and Butch Baker. Tomorrow marks 1 year since the two were gunned down in the line of duty. The vigil starts at 6 p.m. The mother accused of suffocating her 3-year-old daughter in a Watsonville motel room was in court this morning, 6 years after the little girl's death. Central Coast News reporter Michelle Polito tells us how prosecutors and the defense laid out their case for Viva Virgil.
Prosecutors started the morning by explaining to jurors how Isabella was murdered, noting that little Isabella fought for her life as her mother suffocated her with a pillow, and when that didn't work, that she took her bare hands and covered the child's face. The newly impaneled jury also got a first glimpse of the aftermath. Very graphic images of the 3-year-old found face up, covered in a blanket with her foot sticking out. Virgil admitted to police she killed her daughter, but claimed her husband was a devil and would eat Isabella, so she decided her daughter would be better off in heaven. In the courtroom, the jury heard from 4 witnesses. All worked at Motel 6 at the time of the child's death. One witness, in tears, shared her story in the courtroom, stating she felt guilty and thought she could have done more to save the toddler. The motel housekeeper described Isabella as a happy little girl and said Virgil asked her multiple times to, quote, "Please take my baby," and that she couldn't because she was working. Virgil's defense attorney described the defendant as a woman with a rough upbringing who spent years in foster care after her mother rejected her when she was 12 years old. He said Viva Virgil was a prostitute and a victim of violence, a woman who just wanted to have a normal life and family. Prosecutors say Virgil confessed to police that she had been on meth for 4 days prior to the 2008 killing. Virgil faces charges of murder and assault on a child causing death. Michelle Polito in the newsroom, your Central Coast News.
U.S. transportation leaders have fined Asiana Airlines $500,000. They say the airline did not help victims and their families after Flight 214 crash-landed at San Francisco International Airport last summer. So this fine is actually the first of its kind. Regulators say no airline has ever broken U.S. laws that require prompt and generous assistance to victims' families. The U.S. Department of Transportation found that some family members had not been contacted 2 days after this crash, and it took 5 days to reach the families of all 291 passengers. Well, the San Jose Police Department is investigating an officer-involved shooting there on the San Jose State University campus last Friday. A man with a knife allegedly threatened university police officers. One officer tried using a taser, but police say the suspect kept coming. When he lunged, an officer fired 1 shot, killing the man.
A rare illness here in California is causing some children to become paralyzed, and doctors still do not know what exactly it is. Researchers say as many as 25 children have developed a mysterious polio-like illness that paralyzes limbs. Most of those children affected have not recovered the use of their arms and legs. Some of the children first had symptoms of a cold, but health experts still don't know if the illness is caused by a virus or something else.
Even though it's acting like polio, where the paralysis develops suddenly over 48 hours, it's definitely not polio. In fact, all of the children who've been confirmed to have the illness were vaccinated against it and tested negative for it.
Doctors say the illness is serious, but very rare. Coming up on Central Coast News, a controversial bill making waves in Arizona. Can a business owner deny a customer because of their sexuality?
Plus, drought is causing major trouble for food banks. We're going to take you down to earth.
This is Central Coast News, now in high definition.